What if I told you that the world's very first power bank wasn't engineered in a sleek Silicon Valley lab, but was buried in the desert dirt of ancient Mesopotamia over 2 millennia ago? Forget lithium-ion and MagSafe. Today, we are doing a complete teardown of a 2,000-year-old gadget that completely rewrites the history of electricity. Did ancient engineers really figure out battery tech 1,800 years before Alessandro Volta?
Welcome back to Toolbox of Time, where we treat ancient history's most mind-blowing artifacts exactly like the trending tech gadgets they were meant to be. Today, we are taking an exclusive deep dive review into the legendary Baghdad Battery. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what its hardware specs were, how much voltage it could actually output, and what the ultimate killer app was for a battery in the ancient world. Let's get into the review.
Let's talk about the release date and the unboxing experience of this device. This piece of hardware didn't get a flashy keynote presentation. It dropped somewhere between 250 BC and 224 AD during the Parthian or Sassanid empires, completely flying under the radar until it was officially unboxed by the modern world in 1936. An Austrian archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig was excavating an ancient settlement called Kujut Rabu, just outside of modern-day Baghdad. His crew was pulling up standard terracotta pots, which is basically the ancient equivalent of unboxing basic budget tech.
But then, they stumbled upon something that broke all the rules. It was a 5.5-inch tall clay jar, but it wasn't holding grain or water. Inside, it housed a highly specific, complex arrangement of metals that immediately set off alarm bells for anyone who knows basic electrical engineering. When Koenig finally looked at the internal chassis of this artifact, he realized he wasn't looking at a vase. He was looking at a galvanic cell. And here's what makes this discovery even more extraordinary. Koenig wasn't searching for electrical devices. Nobody in 1936 archaeology was. Finding a functional electrochemical cell in a 2,000-year-old tomb was the equivalent of cracking open an ancient storage jar and finding a working circuit board inside. As far as unboxing experiences go, that is the ultimate hidden Easter egg. The tech community is still debating this drop nearly a century later. What makes this even more remarkable is that no written record, no instruction manual, and no ancient text has ever been found that references this device by name or function.
Now, let's get into the teardown and the hardware specs, because the build quality on this thing is surprisingly deliberate. When you take apart a modern portable charger, you find a lithium polymer pouch, a printed circuit board, and a USB port. The Baghdad Battery uses a completely different ruggedized form factor. First, you have the outer casing, a beautifully fired yellow clay jar. It's highly portable, fitting perfectly in the palm of your hand, giving it excellent ergonomics. But the real magic is the internal architecture. When you remove the top seal, you find a hollow cylinder made entirely of rolled copper sheet. This acts as your positive cathode. Inside that copper tube, suspended perfectly in the center so it doesn't touch the sides, is a solid iron rod. This is your negative anode. To keep the iron rod isolated from the copper, preventing a short circuit, the ancient engineers used a specialized mounting bracket, an asphalt plug at the top of the jar, also known as bitumen. They even crimped the bottom of the copper cylinder and sealed it with more asphalt. It is a completely self-contained, beautifully isolated two-metal system. The precision of placing the iron perfectly inside the copper without physical contact shows deliberate intent. From a hardware engineering standpoint, this is a textbook electrochemical cell, and whoever designed it knew exactly what they were building. The level of material selection here is also striking. Copper and iron are not random choices. They sit at opposite ends of the electrochemical activity series, maximizing voltage potential.
You have the hardware, but a battery doesn't work without its software, the electrolyte. If you buy a Duracell today, the alkaline paste is already inside. With the Baghdad Battery, it was a bring-your-own electrolyte situation. To activate this ancient power bank, The user had to pour an acidic liquid into the jar so that it bathed both the copper and the iron. We don't have the original liquid, of course, because it evaporated 1,000 years ago. But modern tech historians and mythbusters have tested the device using acidic liquids that were readily available to ancient Mesopotamians: grape juice, lemon juice, or wine vinegar. When you pour that acidic software into the chassis, a chemical reaction begins immediately. The acid starts eating away at the iron, releasing electrons, which flow toward the copper. If you attach a wire to the top of the iron rod and another to the copper cylinder, you create a circuit. So, what's the output? What is the actual voltage of this BC gadget? When hooked up to a modern digital multimeter, a single Baghdad Battery replica running on simple vinegar outputs anywhere from 0.8 to about 2 volts, roughly the same as a modern AA battery. And here's the stat that should make every electrical engineer sit down. This voltage output is completely reproducible, consistent, and undeniable. It is a functioning power supply, engineered 2,000 years before Alessandro Volta received the credit for inventing the battery. That single fact alone should make you question every assumption you have ever held about the technological ceiling of the ancient world.
So the battery works, but this brings up the biggest question in ancient tech history. What was the killer app? What were they actually plugging this thing into? They obviously weren't charging their iPhones or powering LED ring lights. There are two major theories for the user experience here. The first, and most popular, is electroplating. If you wire several of these Baghdad batteries together in a series, you can boost the voltage. You could then run that electrical current through a bath of liquid gold or silver, allowing artisans to seamlessly coat cheap metal jewelry with a perfect microscopic layer of precious metal. It was the ultimate ancient life hack for counterfeit gold. Some researchers argue this is why the device was kept secret. It was proprietary tech for jewelers to maximize profit margins. The ancient world's first closed-source hardware ecosystem. The second theory is a bit wilder: medical tech. Ancient civilizations knew about the numbing effects of electric torpedo fish, which they used to treat nerve pain and migraines. Some historians believe these batteries were hooked up to conductive needles, like electrified acupuncture, or used by religious priests to deliver a mild, magical shock to worshippers. Imagine walking into an ancient temple, touching a statue, and feeling a 2-volt buzz of divine energy. It would be the ultimate theatrical tech demo. Both theories are plausible. Both are supported by archaeological context, and both suggest that whoever operated this device understood its output well enough to put it to deliberate, practical use. It's time for the final verdict. The Baghdad Battery is one of the most frustrating, incredible, and mysterious tech drops in human history. It proves that ancient civilizations stumbled upon the literal building blocks of modern electricity nearly 2,000 years before the Industrial Revolution. However, because the user manual has been completely lost to time, and because the power output is too low to run anything more than a small LED light today, we have to dock a few points. It's also completely unrechargeable. Once the iron rusts out, the hardware is dead. No firmware update is going to fix that. I am giving the Baghdad Battery a massive 9.0 out of 10. It's an absolute masterpiece of ancient chemistry and unintentional electrical engineering. And here's the bigger takeaway. If these ancient innovators had figured out how to scale and iterate on this technology, larger electrodes, stronger electrolytes, series configurations, the entire trajectory of human civilization could have accelerated by centuries. If these ancient innovators had just figured out how to scale this tech up, human history would look completely different today. The Baghdad Battery isn't just a curiosity. It is proof that the gap between ancient minds and modern minds is far smaller than we have ever been comfortable admitting.
If you loved this deep dive into history's very first power bank, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss a review from the past. I want to hear from you guys. If you had to, would you trust your brand new smartphone to be charged by a 2,000-year-old jar of vinegar? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching Toolbox of Time.
Keep your gears turning, keep unboxing the past, and I'll see you in the next review.